Hello YouTube, it's me again, it's Dominoid, and today it is Review a Great Game Day. So that is exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be reviewing Abombinaball on the Atari ST. So, Review a Great Game Day. What is Review a Great Game Day? Well, for those of you who don't know, it is an event hosted annually by onemorecastle.com. Great retro website. If you haven't been there, do recommend check it out. Link will be in the description down there. And the idea is to review a great game, exactly as the name says. It's a way of promoting some positivity about the gaming scene, because we do focus on quite a lot of negative things, and sometimes it's easy to forget that actually there's some brilliant games out there. Now, I had a few choices. I thought long and hard about what to do for Review a Great Game Day. I could have waxed lyrical about Spellbound Dizzy, Final Fantasy VII, Sonic the Hedgehog, some real classics, but everyone knows they're classics, everyone knows how good they are. What I wanted to do was pick something a little less well known, and actually this game I haven't seen any other reviews on YouTube. I'm probably wrong, someone's probably done one and they can link to it in the comments, but I found a little bit of game footage but no reviews. So I'll go into some detail then. I talked in previous videos about my first ever computer. That was a CPC 464 from Amstrad. That was my first computer. My second computer was a CPC 6128, so more of the same but with a disk drive and some more memory. My third ever computer, now that was an Atari ST. It was the STE 520 if I remember rightly, and it was given to me by my brother, who I loved ever since, not just for the computer, but it was a great little machine. With this I acquired an awful lot of games, and one of those games was Abombinaball. Now this is produced by Martin Brownlow, who you may recognise from the Atari Classics, the Grav series. He did a fantastic conversion of Chaos on the ST. He then went on to make Sacrifice, MDK on the PC, and I think his most recent project was he worked on Titanfall on the Xbox One. So, fantastic calibre of programmer. This game wasn't a commercial release, it was actually free on the cover disc of ST format, which is probably why it is something of a bit of an unknown game. Basic premise: you are a ball. You don't have a name, you're just a ball. You have to bounce around on tiled surface to defuse bombs. You've got 10 seconds for each bomb, otherwise it will explode. You've got to defuse them in the right order, otherwise everything will explode. And you have only so many jumps, so you can bounce from one square to another, or you can jump by skipping one square. You can only do that so many times. So the idea is you have to get the bombs defused in a set time. It doesn't sound overly difficult, but what happens is it's unfortunately not always obvious which order you're going to need to defuse the bombs in. If you defuse them in the wrong order, then the game's over. And because the tiles disappear as you jump off them, you have to leave yourself a route to the remaining bombs. But it's not always obvious what the remaining bombs are, because you don't know what the order is until you've played it a little bit. Add to this, there's a few special tiles in the game as well. So there's some which make you leap a few squares forward, there's some which make you just move to the next square, there's some which disappear after a certain amount of times that you've bounced on them, and some which stay there permanently. So why is it a great game? It's very difficult to define what makes a great game. Well, we'll go through the obvious categories that people tend to look at. Well, graphics, it's not actually a huge amount to speak of. It's very colourful. It's not something that really you would have seen on a 16-bit as being groundbreaking. It probably could have been done on the 8-bits. There's a very nice scrolling background, which would have been quite hard on the 8-bits, but other than that, it's quite chunky. It's very brightly coloured, which I always like in a game, and it's got a really nice sort of chunky pixel art feel to the levels. So some of them are done in different designs. So you've got one in the shape of a floppy disk, and there's one in the shape of Dizzy, there's one in the shape of a lemming, there's one in the shape of the Starship Enterprise even. So yeah, they've put a lot of thought into the levels. They're very, very clever, but it's not anything amazing graphically. It's not what it's about. Okay, well, sound, let's have a look at the sound. Everyone always talks about sound, and the 8 bits and the 16 bits were the era of great theme tunes. There's a lovely piece of music at the beginning of the game by a chap called David Geimer. There's no music during the game though, it's just quite minimalistic. You've got just sort of very usable sound effects. There's nothing to write home about. So I'm not really selling this as a great game, am I? What makes it a great game? Okay, well, how about to illustrate that point, I recorded a little bit of footage for the video, and shall we have a look at how much footage I recorded? Yeah, it is hugely addictive. Hugely so. I only intended to record a few levels just so I've got something to show in the video, because it's not going to be a long video, but I ended up here for hours. It's such an addictive game. It's one of those classic puzzle games that you can play in short bursts, but those short bursts become longer and longer. Most of the levels are pretty short. I mean, you're looking at maybe 60 seconds for the average level. The longest is about 2 minutes long. It's not hugely long levels, so it's that quick burst of playing one level and moving straight on to the next. The tricky thing is that most of them look quite obvious to start with, but actually they get quite devious, as you've got to leave yourself a route back. So you've got to start being quite cute in how you approach the level, and it's that feeling of getting quite close but not close enough because you needed one more jump to get back to the last bomb. That's what keeps you playing. So each of the levels are against the clock. You've got 10 seconds on the clock for each bomb, so there's a great sense of satisfaction in getting each bomb within that 10-second time window. You're constantly against the clock, so it's constantly sort of very twitch. Don't have an awful lot of time to think. If you sit and plan your route in advance, then that first bomb's going to explode before you've managed to get there. So you've got to go straight into the action. There's no messing about, and it really pulls you in that way. There's that sense of satisfaction when you've beaten the level that you've been trying for 20 minutes. There's that sense of satisfaction when you beat a level first time. It's a really addictive little puzzle game. For me, it's that addictiveness that makes a great puzzle game. When you start playing and you just can't stop. You just want to get one more level. You get passwords every 5 levels, and they're really needed because it is an unforgiving game. There's some where you're thrown straight into the action and you've got very little chance, unless you already know the order of the bombs, of leaving yourself an appropriate route back. And there's some of them where you can sit scratching your head for the first 10 seconds and then remember that there's a bomb you didn't defuse, so everything explodes. You've got 3 lives. When lives are over, that's it. Even with passwords every 5 levels though, I did find myself doing something I don't really like doing, and I use save states on an emulator to get straight back to a specific level to replay it, because it is rock solid, and that is pretty much a theme that ran throughout games of that era, but this one is pretty harsh. There's a slightly more forgiving version online actually. Rich Davey, who produces a fantastic Atari ST website, Little Green Desktop, he has created a Flash remake. I'll link to that in the description as well. That gives you infinite lives, and it gives you a password after every level. So if you want a little bit less frustration, then that may be the version to play. It doesn't have the exact same feel as Abombinaball. It's almost exactly the same in terms of levels. Graphics have been snazzed up and the sound effects have been snazzed up a little bit. But some of the levels are in a slightly different order. It's very true to the original though. It's thoroughly worth playing. If you can't get a copy of the original on the ST and you don't want to emulate it, then best bet is that Flash remake, which has been given blessing by Martin Brownlow as well. So it's all above board and legit, and it is a fantastic little remake. So yeah, well worth checking out. I thoroughly recommend it. So, that is Abombinaball. Great little game on the Atari ST. If you haven't got a copy of it, I thoroughly recommend trying and get a copy of it. Do play it, it is great fun. Not the most famous or well-known game that you're going to see on this review of Great Game Day, but if I can make just one person who hasn't otherwise heard of it play it, then I've done exactly what I intended to do. Hope you enjoyed this video. I shall see you again very soon, but until next time, cheers YouTube, and thank you very much. So if you enjoyed my video and you'd like to see some more from me, then there is more out there. You can click on my cup of tea right here, and that will subscribe you to my channel. You can be one of the first people to see new videos that I put up onto YouTube. If, on the other hand, you'd just like to see my last video, well, click on my little Pac-Man friend here on my left thumb, and it will take you to my last video, which is a review of March's retro-themed Z-Box. There will be new videos very soon, and I will see you very soon with those new videos. Thanks very much and goodbye!